Hello everyone, welcome to online physics CET classes. In the previous video lecture, we solved two model question papers based on NEET as well as JEE mains examination pattern. Today, I am again going to solve one more model question paper based on your NEET examination. NEET examination pattern, I already told you in the last video lecture that it contains total 45 questions in physics subject. Each subject contains 45 questions, but biology contains 90 questions. In that 45 questions from botany and 45 questions from geology. Now let us concentrate only on physics. So physics total questions are 45. Each carries 4 marks, and for negative answer it will be deducted with 1 mark. So let us solve the second model question paper based on your NEET examination. The first question is the specific resistance rho of a circular wire of radius r. Resistance r, capital R is resistance, small r is radius, and length is L, is given by the equation rho equal to pi r square r divided by L. Here the givens are radius is 0.24 plus or minus 0.02 centimeter, and resistance R equal to 30 plus or minus 1 ohm, and length L equal to 4.80 plus or minus 0.01 centimeter. The percentage error in resistivity rho is nearly. The required percentage, so we have the equation rho equal to pi r square r divided by L. This is the resistivity equation, specific resistance. I am going to write the required percentage we can write, observe here. So pi is constant, leave it, r is radius, this is r square means 2 times of radius. I can write 2 into 2 times of radius. Radius is given how much? 0.24 plus or minus 0.02 centimeter. That means it is not accurate 0.24 centimeter. That may be plus or minus. That may be 0.26 or that may be 0.22. So there is some error here. So they given plus or minus 0.02 centimeter. So I can write the error 0.02 centimeter divided by the radius is how much? 0.24. In terms of percentage means multiplied by 100. This is r square, 2 times of r. So 2 into. So percentile error 0.02 centimeter divided by the radius is 0.24 into 100. Plus the second term I can take resistance. Resistance value is given 30 ohm, that is plus or minus 1 ohm. So similarly we can write, here you can observe the formula, this is R. It is not squaring, simple, it is resistance R. So I can write here 1 divided by 1 is plus or minus 1 ohm is error, divided by total value of resistance is 30 ohm, 1 by 30 into 100. Plus then the third term is length. Length is given 4.80 plus or minus 0.01 centimeter. So we can write 0.01 divided by 4.8 into 100. So this gives the percentage error in resistivity. So remember here this is a square of radius, so it is multiplied by 2. Calculate all these values, we will get 16.7 plus resistance 3.3 plus length we got 0.2. So adding all these values we will get 20% percentage, that is error in resistivity. That is 20% means option D is right. Second question is, a boy is spinning on a rotating tool with his arms down to his sides. Suddenly he stretches his arms. Which of the following is true regarding his angular speed omega and angular momentum L? Which of the following option is true? The first option is given, omega decreases but L remains the same. Second option, both omega and L decrease. Third option, omega remains constant but L decreases. And fourth one, omega increases but L remains constant. So we know that moment of inertia is given by the equation I equal to mr square, and angular momentum is given by the equation L equal to I omega, and angular speed omega is given by the equation omega equal to theta by t. Or we have the equation for angular momentum. Law of conservation of angular momentum is given by, law of conservation of angular momentum is given by the equation I1 omega 1 is equal to I2 omega 2. The total angular momentum of an isolated system remains constant. This is before he is stretching his arms, and this is after he is stretching his arms when he is spinning on a rotating stool. I1 omega 1 equal to I2 omega 2. Here, moment of inertia we can observe in both the cases. In the first case, his arms are downward. In the second case, he is stretching his arms. So here, when he stretches his arms, radius of gyration increases. So we can write I2 is greater than I1. In the second case, moment of inertia increases when he stretches his hands because radius of gyration increases. I2 is greater than I1. If I2 is greater than I1, then how to write about omega? Omega 2 is smaller than omega 1 because you can observe the above equation. I1 omega 1 divided by I2 omega 2 is equal to constant according to law of conservation of angular momentum. But here, which is greater? I2 is greater. So we can write the equation I1 omega 1 divided by I2 equal to omega 2. These two are inversely proportional. As I2 increases, omega 2 decreases. Both L and omega decreases. So option B is right. The third question is, if the radius of the earth shrinks by 2% and mass remains unchanged, then acceleration due to gravity is. See here, acceleration due to gravity at the surface of the earth is given by the equation G equal to capital G into m divided by r square. This is what? Acceleration due to gravity at the surface of the earth. Here, the radius of the earth is decreased because it is shrinking by 2%. So, we can take the radius of the earth decreased by 2%. Therefore, I can write radius after shrinking r dash equal to initial radius is r minus it is shrinked by 2% means 0.02 times of r it is decreased. So, the final radius of the earth we will get 0.98 times of its original radius. Now, acceleration due to gravity, we can write g dash after shrinking is equal to gm divided by r value. Now we got 0.98 r square. Now we will get the final answer 1.04 gram. After substituting all the values, we got acceleration due to gravity 1.04 gram. But here the percentage increase in acceleration due to gravity. Percentage increase in acceleration due to gravity means we can write the final value of g, we can take it as g dash minus its initial value divided by acceleration due to gravity into 100. So now we will get the final value which is equal to, after calculating these value, we will get 4%. That is 4% of this acceleration due to gravity is increased. So option C is right. Consider the following statements and select the incorrect statement. There are 4 statements is given. We have to find which is incorrect statement. The first statement is, the presence of large magnetic flux through a coil maintains a current in the coil if the circuit is continuous. Yes, it is right, because there is a large magnetic flux. Magnetic flux means what? The magnetic field lines passing through the given surface area. If there is a changing magnetic field, then induced EMF takes place that produces current in the coil. And that current is maintained in the coil or maintained in the circuit when that circuit is continuous. Circuit is continuous means when the plug key is closed, then it can maintain the current. So this is the right option. The second one, a coil of a metal wire kept stationary in a non-uniform magnetic field. Yes, here the coil is at rest. The coil is stationary, but it is kept in a non-uniform magnetic field. That means there is a change in the magnetic field, so that induced EMF takes place. So this is also right statement. Come to the third one. A charged particle enters a region of uniform magnetic field at an angle of 85 degree to the magnetic lines of force. The path of the particle is a circle. See here, when the charged particle, when it enters the uniform magnetic field, here the path of the particle is circle. So this is also right statement. Remaining is only the last option. Obviously that may be the incorrect statement. Let us see the fourth statement. There is no change in the energy of a charged particle moving in a magnetic field although a magnetic force is acting on it. It is wrong, because there is a change in the energy of the particle. The charged particle energy changes when there is a magnetic force acting on it because of magnetic field. So this is the wrong statement. So according to the question, we have to find the incorrect statement. Option D is right. The fourth question is, if mu r, mu k and mu s represent coefficient of rolling friction, kinetic friction and static friction, then we know that when object is at rest, then we can call it as static friction. When object is in motion, then we can call it as kinetic friction. And then when the object is rolling, then we can call it as rolling friction. There are three types of friction: static, kinetic and rolling. Here for static friction, we can write coefficient of static friction is denoted by mu s, for kinetic mu k, for rolling mu r. So here friction is very negligible, very less for rolling, and then it is very high for static friction. When the object is at rest, static friction is greater. When the object is rolling, static friction is very less. So here we can say that mu s is greater than mu k and also greater than rolling friction mu r. Now you can observe the options, which is the suitable equation, or we can write this equation as mu r is less than mu k is less than mu s. So option D is correct. A right prism is made by selecting proper material and the angle A and B as shown in the figure. Here B is smaller than A. It is desired that a ray of light incident on the face AB emerges parallel to the incident direction after two internal reflection. Here you can observe the surface AB. On this surface AB, when a ray of light falls on it, it is normal incidence, so it is undeviated. When the same ray of light falls on the second surface, let us take AC. Here reflection, that means a total internal reflection of light takes place. So it is a turning back. Again this ray of light is going to fall on the third surface BC. Here also TIR takes place. Finally, when it falls on again the surface AB, it is normal incidence, so it is undeviated. These incident ray and refracted ray, these two are parallel to each other according to this question. Now, what should be the minimum refractive index for this to be possible? We have to find refractive index, or it is denoted by mu or n. Now here, from this diagram easily we can say that when this ray of light undergoes total internal reflection, here the total angle is how much? 90 degree. So now we can find the angle of refraction. Let us draw the normal. So this is a normal here. The angle between incident ray and refracted ray. The angle between incident ray and normal is angle of incidence. Angle between refracted ray and normal is angle of refraction. Total angle is how much? 90 degree. So this will be 45 plus 45, that gives 90 degree. That means angle of refraction is 90 degree. For both the cases, here also this is 45 and this is 45. This is angle of incidence and this is angle of refraction. Now we have to find refractive index for this given prism. When a ray incident on the face AC at an angle A after reflection, after TIR, it is incident on the face BC at the angle B. So we can write angle A plus angle B is equal to 90 degree. But here it is given B is smaller than A. So the ray, if it is totally reflected from the surface BC, here it is from the surface BC, for this angle B, it should be greater than critical angle, because TIR takes place when it is greater than, when angle of incidence is greater than critical angle. For minimum value of refractive index, this B can be infinitesimal, infinitesimally than C. So we can take B is equal to C. C means here we can take it as a critical angle. So we know the equation n equal to 1 by sine C, or sine C means we can write it as sine B because B and C both are equal. So here it is given for A equal to B. That means B equal to how much? Angle is 45 degree from the diagram. So refractive index n equal to, we can get sine of 45. So 1 by sine of 45, that gives root 2. N equal to root 2 is the minimum refractive index for this to be possible. Kirchhoff's first and second laws are based on the conservation of. You have studied Kirchhoff 2 rules in current electricity. Kirchhoff first law states that, we already know it, that is, the algebraic sum of the currents or the algebraic sum of the charges meeting at the junction is 0. That is, summation of I, or we can take summation of Q, is equal to 0. This is the first law. Hence, this is based on law of conservation of charge. It is based on law of conservation of charge. That is, the algebraic sum of the charges or the current meeting at the junction is equal to 0. Then come to the second Kirchhoff law. So it states that the algebraic sum of the product of resistance and respective current in a closed mesh is 0. That means we can write summation of IR, or we can write which is equal to summation of E. Here this concept is based on law of conservation of energy. These are the two rules that we have studied in current electricity. The first law is based on law of conservation of charge. Second law is based on law of conservation of energy. So option B is right. An ideal gas heat engine operates in a Carnot cycle between 227 degrees Celsius and 127 degrees Celsius. It absorbs 6 kilocalorie at the high temperature. The amount of heat converted into work is equal to. So we already studied Carnot cycle in thermodynamics in first PUC, that we know efficiency of the Carnot engine. It is denoted by the symbol eta. we can write the equation eta equal to T1 minus T2 divided by T1. So this is the equation for efficiency of Carnot engine. Here T1 value is given 227 degrees Celsius. It is converted into Kelvin for absolute temperature plus 273. That means it gives 500 Kelvin. Similarly, T2 is given 127 degrees Celsius plus 273. That gives 400 Kelvin. Now, you can substitute in this efficiency formula. Eta equal to, that is 500 minus 400 divided by 500, that gives 1 divided by 5. This is efficiency of Carnot engine. The amount of heat which is converted into work, that means we can write work done. We can use this equation W equal to eta into H, where W indicates work done, eta is efficiency, H indicates heat energy. Substitute the value eta, we got 1 by 5 into, and amount of heat energy is 6 kilocalorie. 6 kilocalorie means we can write 1 by 5 into 6, that gives 6 by 5. 6 by 5 means which is equal to 1.2 kilocalorie. So the work done is 1.2 kilocalorie. So amount of heat energy converted into work is equal to 1.2 kilocalorie. Option A is right. The work function of a metallic substance is 5 electron volt. The threshold frequency is approximately. Work function, it is denoted by W naught. Threshold frequency is denoted by F naught, or we can use nu naught. They are related like this equation we have studied, W naught equal to H nu naught. So F naught, or we can use nu naught. Both are same. So we want threshold frequency, therefore nu naught equal to, we can write W naught divided by H. W naught means here it is 5 electron volt. So convert in terms of 1 electron volt means 1.6 into 10 raised to minus 19. 5 into 1.6 into 10 raised to minus 19 divided by H. It is the value 6.625 into 10 raised to minus 34 joule second. So calculate these value. We will get 1.2 into 10 raised to 15 Hertz. The threshold frequency is approximately 1.2 into 10 raised to 15 Hertz. Option D is right. The component of a vector, vector A equal to 2i cap plus 3j cap, along the vector B equal to I cap plus j cap is. We have the equation. We know that cos theta equal to vector A dot vector B divided by mod of vector A dot mod of vector B. Magnitude and direction of resultant vector. There we studied this equation. Substitute the value. Vector A value is given 2i cap plus 3j cap. So 2i cap plus 3j cap means 2 into unit vector means 1. 2 into 1 plus, here it is 3j cap. I can write it as 3 into 1 divided by a root of mod vector A cap. Mod vector A. That means here A square plus B square equal to C square. We can use resultant magnitude of vector A. That means C equal to root of A square plus B square. We can write here A value is 2, 2 square is 4, 3, B value is 3, 3 square is 9, root of 4 plus 9. And then here B equal to I cap plus J cap, 1 square is 1, 1 square is 1. So we will get here 5 divided by root 2 into root 3. Now the component of A along B. We can write component of A along B is equal to A cos theta. This is the component which is along B. There are two components for the vector A. Suppose if this is a vector A, There are two components. This is vertical component and this is horizontal component. So here it is given the vector B is along. B equal to I cap plus J cap. A cos theta and A sin theta are the two components. So in that A cos theta is along vector B. So we can use this A cos theta here. So substitute the value. We know that components of A along B. That means I can write here 5 divided by root 2 into root 3 into for A cap for vector A 2I cap plus 3J cap, which is equal to 10 divided by root 2 into root 3 I cap plus 5 3s are 15 divided by root 2 root 3 J cap. So its magnitude we can write here, which is equal to root of 10 square 100 divided by 2 into 3. This is not 13, this is 3 plus 15 square 225 divided by 2 into 3. So we will get root of 325 divided by 2 into 13, or we can write it as 5 divided by root 2. So 5 by root 2 means option A is correct. What is the ratio of shortest wavelength of Balmer series to the shortest wavelength of Lyman series? For Lyman series, we can write the equation 1 by lambda equal to 1 divided by n1 square. For Lyman series, n1 equal to 1 square minus 1 by n2 square. But here for shortest wavelength, we know that for shortest wavelength, n is infinity, that is n2 equal to infinity. So we can write 1 by lambda equal to, that is Rydberg constant R, keep as it is. Because 1 by 1 will be 1, remaining is only R. Therefore, we got lambda equal to 1 divided by R. This is for Lyman series. Similarly, for Balmer series, we can write for Balmer series 1 by, let us take it as lambda 1 equal to R into 1 divided by n1 square. For Balmer series, n1 equal to 2 square minus 1 by n2 square. Here also for shortest wavelength, again n2 equal to infinity. Therefore, the above equation can be written as 1 by lambda 1 equal to, we got R divided by 4. Therefore, lambda 1 equal to 4 divided by R. Now, we can take this is lambda and this is lambda 1. Therefore, the ratio of, here it is, what is the ratio of Balmer series to Lyman series? So, we can write the ratio lambda 1 divided by lambda equal to, lambda 1 is 4 by R, lambda is 1 by R. So, we can write R divided by 1 here. So, R will get cancelled, that gives 4 divided by 1. So, the ratios are 4:1. Option A is correct. A smooth inclined plane is fixed in a car accelerating at A equal to g tan theta. If the sphere is set pure rolling on the inclined, then here this is a sphere which is kept on an inclined plane, and this inclined plane is fixed in a car which is accelerating at A equal to g tan theta. Then which are the right options? The first option, it will continue rolling. Second one, it will slip down. Third one, its linear velocity will increase. Fourth one, its linear velocity will decrease. So here the question is, if the sphere is set pure rolling on the incline, then. So this is all about sphere. Whether the sphere will continue to roll or whether it will slip down or whether its velocity increases or decreases. This sphere will continue rolling on this inclined surface. This car is moving with certain velocity. It is accelerating A equal to g tan theta. Anyhow, when the sphere is kept on inclined surface, when the car is moving, when it is accelerating, that means it has a change in its velocity. Velocity of the vehicle is changing so that it is accelerating. So when the sphere is kept on inclined surface, it will continue rolling. So option A is correct. Use of eddy currents is done in the following except. We studied about eddy currents in electromagnetic induction. Eddy current is the current that produced in a body of a conductor due to electromagnetic induction. Because of changing magnetic field, induced EMF takes place so that current is produced. That current is circulating in a bulk conductor, so we can call it as eddy currents. Eddy currents are all because of EMI, that is electromagnetic induction. Here, use of eddy current is done in the following. We can use eddy currents in moving coil galvanometer. They are used in electric brake. They are also used in induction motor but not used in dynamo. Here, moving coil galvanometer, electric brake and induction motors, they are based on electromagnetic induction. Hence, we can use eddy currents in these three cases. Dynamo is not used under eddy current. Dynamo is not for EMI. Here this is for, we can use it for DC, that is direct current. But in moving coil galvanometer, electronic brake induction motor, so there is always, because of changing magnetic flux, induced EMF takes place, and whatever the current is produced, it is always in the opposite direction. Because of its direction, it opposes their movement. So the first three options are used in eddy current and the last option is not used in eddy current. So option D is correct. A satellite of mass m is put into a circular orbit of height h from the surface of the earth. Mass equal to me, radius equal to re. The orbital speed of the satellite is. We have the equation, that is v equal to orbital speed. I am going to write here, that is g, mass of the surface, mass of the earth is given me, divided by radius is re, and that satellite is put on a circular orbit having height h. So we can write re plus h, or we can write it as, here in place of orbital speed I am going to write work done with respect to radius plus height is equal to root of gme divided by re plus h. Therefore, we can write w equal to root of gme divided by re plus h whole cube. So, option C is correct. 16 gram of oxygen at 37 degrees Celsius is mixed with 14 gram of nitrogen at 27 degrees Celsius. The temperature of the mixture will be. See here, for oxygen and for nitrogen, both are diatomic molecule. Oxygen and nitrogen both are diatomic molecule. So their CV should be same. Specific heat capacity of volume when volume is at constant. CV will be same for both oxygen and nitrogen. So we can write number of moles. Let us take for oxygen N1. So this is for O2. N1 of O2 is equal to mass is 16 gram divided by molecular mass is 32 for oxygen. So we got 1 by 2. Similarly, number of moles for nitrogen, we can write N2 for nitrogen Mass is 14 gram and its molecular mass is 28. So we will get again 1 by 2. The temperature of the mixture means we can write the formula N1 plus N2 into Cv into T is equal to N1 Cv into T1 N, that is N1 Cv into T1 plus N2 Cv T2. This is final temperature after mixture of O2 and N2. So we can write Tf equal to, here Cv will get cancelled. In both the cases Cv is the same. So we will get N1 T1 plus N2 T2 divided by N1 plus N2. Now substitute the values. Final temperature, that is N1 is 1 by 2 into temperature for oxygen. Here it is T1 equal to 37 degrees Celsius. Convert in terms of Kelvin, plus 273 means we will get 310 Kelvin. For nitrogen, T2 equal to 27 degrees Celsius. So we can write 300 Kelvin. Substitute the values here, 1 by 2 into 310 plus 1 by 2 into 300 divided by 1 by 2 plus 1 by 2. Calculate the value, we will get 305 Kelvin, or in terms of degree Celsius means minus 273. So we will get the final answer 32 degrees Celsius. This is the final temperature after the mixture of oxygen and nitrogen. So option D is correct. At the center of the cubical box, plus Q charge is placed. The value of total flux that is coming out of a wall is, this is a cubical box. According to Gauss law, we have the equation, the line integration of E dot ds is equal to, this is the charge Q which is enclosed by closed surface divided by epsilon naught, that gives flux. So total flux means we can write, so total flux will be equal to Q divided by epsilon naught. This is the total flux. Here it is a cube. This cube is cubical box, means it is having 6 phases. So flux coming out through one wall or one phase. There are 6 phases. For one phase, we can write Q divided by 6 into epsilon. This is for one phase. Q divided by 6 epsilon naught, that option D is correct. A particle moves under the effect of a force F equal to Cx from x equal to 0 to x equal to x1, then the work done in the process is. So work done is given by the equation F equal to integration of F into dx from the limit 0 to x1. That is force into displacement, product of force and displacement, that gives work done. W equal to integration of, here the value of F is given Cx into dx. This is the value of F from the limit 0 to x1. W equal to, we can write, here C is a constant, take outside, x into dx from the limit 0 to x1, or we can write W equal to C, integration of x will be x square divided by 2 from the limit 0 to x1. So we will get W equal to 1 by 2 C, take outside, remaining is x square from the limit 0 to x1. Now apply the limits, upper limit x1 square minus lower limit is 0. So we will get the final answer, W equal to half C x1 square. W equal to half C x1 square is the work done in the process. Option B is correct. According to the kinetic theory of gases, the pressure exerted by a gas on the walls is measured as the first option, rate of change of momentum imparted to the walls per second per unit area. Second option, momentum imparted to the walls per unit area. And the third one, change of momentum imparted to the walls per unit area. And the last one, change in momentum per unit volume. So here, according to kinetic theory of gases, when the pressure is exerted by the gas on the walls, then it is measured as option A is correct. That is, a rate of change of momentum imparted to the walls per second per unit area. So option A is correct. The resistance of a resistor with the following color code. The first color is red, second one violet, third one is green, and the last one is gold. So resistor color coding we already studied in current electricity. So we know that we can use B.B. Roy had Great Britain wife. That statement we can use to solve it easily. Black is 0, brown is 1, here it is red. So we can write for red it is 2. For next color this is violet. Violet means it is equal to 7. And then come for green. Green means the digit we can write 5. For gold we can write the gold represents tolerance, that is plus or minus 5%. So we can write the first two colors 2, 7 into third color that is green will be always the power of 10, that is 10 raised to 5. 27 into 10 raised to 5 plus or minus 5% is tolerance. So this is the value. So 27 into 10 raised to 5 ohm plus or minus 5%. Option D is correct. The fundamental frequency of a closed end organ pipe is N. Its length is doubled and radius is halved. Its frequency will become nearly. Remember, frequency does not depend on radius. Frequency does not depend on radius. As length is doubled, suppose if the length is doubled, as length is increased, then the fundamental frequency becomes half. Fundamental frequency becomes half, but it is not depending on the radius. So if the length is n, then it will be n by 2. So option A is correct. A raindrop of radius 0.3 mm has a terminal velocity in air 1 meter per second. The viscosity of air is 8 into 10 raised to minus 5 poise. The viscous force on it is. We have directly the formula for viscous force, F equal to 6 pi eta r v. Substitute all the values. F equal to 6 into pi value is 3.142. Eta is given 8 into 10 raised to minus 5. That is viscosity of air, 8 into 10 raised to minus 5 into radius is given 0.3 millimeter, or we can write 0.03 into, and then velocity 1 meter per second. So we can write into 100. F equal to, we will get the final answer 4.52 into 10 raised to minus 3 dyne. 4.52 into 10 raised to minus 3, or we can write 45.2 into 10 raised to minus 4. So option A is correct. A particle moves such that its acceleration A is given by A equal to minus bx, where x is the displacement from equilibrium position and b is constant. The period of oscillation is. The time period of oscillation is given by the formula T equal to 2 pi root of L divided by G. We can use this equation. T equal to 2 pi keep as it is. So L indicates that is displacement and G indicates acceleration. So now substitute the values. T equal to 2 pi into root of, here x is the displacement, let us write x, divided by acceleration is given minus bx. So magnitude we can take bx. So we will get, x will be get cancelled, which is equal to 2 pi root of 1 divided by b. Or we can write 2 pi divided by root b. So option B is correct. A person who can see things most clearly at the distance of 10 centimeter requires spectacles to enable to see clearly the things at a distance of 30 centimeter. What should be the focal length of these spectacles? The person suffer from short-sightedness, or we can also call it as myopia. That means the person is unable to see the objects at normal distances, but he can see the objects at nearer distance. He will require concave lens. He require concave lens to see the things clearly. Now when the things kept at a distance of 30 centimeter will appear to be placed at 10 centimeter because of using these spectacles which are made of concave lens. So here object distance is given 30. Because of this concave lens it appears to be at 10 centimeter, that is V value. We have to find focal length which is denoted by F. So we have a thin lens formula, that is 1 by F equal to 1 by V minus 1 by U. Easily we can get the answer from this equation. 1 divided by V is given, that is 10 centimeter. So we can apply the Cartesian sign conventions, that is minus 10 minus 1 divided by, that is object distance is 30 minus 30. Here you can see the concave lens will be like this. Concave lens. This is the principal axis. This is object which is at 30 centimeter from the optic center. This is the object. Because of using this concave lens, this object is appear to be at 10 centimeter. Here, when a ray of light falls on this concave lens, there is no converging but diverging of light takes place. And this ray of light appears to coming from this direction. So now here we can get the image. So this image is formed at 10 centimeter from this optic center. This is 10 centimeter. Now object distance is U and image distance is V. Both are negative here. Object distance and image distance both are negative because according to Cartesian sign convention, all the distances are measured from optic center from along the principal axis. But now here it is opposite to the direction of incident ray, so it will be negative. U and V both are negative. So 1 by F equal to, we can write 1 by minus 10 plus 1 by 30. Or 1 by F equal to 1 by 30 minus 1 divided by 10. So we will get 1 by F equal to minus 30 divided by 2. Or F equal to, we can write, this is the value of F. So F equal to, we will get minus 15 centimeter. This is the focal length of the spectacles which are made of concave lens. So minus 15 centimeter for concave lens means option A is correct. The magnetic field of Earth at the equator is approximately 4 into 10 raised to minus 5 Tesla. The radius of Earth is 6.4 into 10 raised to 6 meter. Then the dipole moment of the Earth will be nearly of the order of. So here the magnetic field of the Earth at the equator is given, that is B equal to 4 into 10 raised to minus 5 Tesla. The radius of the earth is given R equal to 6.4 into 10 raised to 6 meter. Now we have to find the dipole moment of the earth, that is capital M. We have the formula B equal to mu naught divided by 4 pi M divided by D cube. This equation we can use. Substitute the value. B is given 4 into 10 raised to minus 5 equal to mu naught is 4 pi into 10 raised to minus 7 into M, keep as it is, divided by 4 pi into D cube is given, that is here radius, means we can write 6.4 into 10 raised to 6 cube. So either you can write R or D here. This is the radius of the earth, that is R cube. So therefore, after calculating all this value, we will get the magnetic dipole. The dipole moment of the earth is nearly equivalent to 10 raised to 23 ampere per meter square. It is of the order 1 into 10 raised to 23. That means option A is correct. To which logic gate does the truth table given below correspond? The options are AND gate, NAND gate, NOR gate and XOR gate. In this truth table, 0 means low and 1 means high. Now coming to the first option, that is AND gate. In AND gate, the output is high only if both the inputs are high. You can observe the truth table. Hence, the condition of AND gate fails here. Come to the second option, that is NAND gate. NAND gate is the inversion of AND gate. Now seeing this truth table, this condition also fails because in AND gate, the output is high only if the inputs are low. Here you can observe the first condition. The inputs are low but the output is again low. So the AND gate is also, this condition fails here. Come to the third option, NOR gate. NOR gate is the inversion of OR gate. OR gate means what? Either any one of the inputs are low or either any one of the input is high, then output is high. But in NOR gate, if either any one of the input is high, then output will be low. You can observe again the first condition in the truth table. So the inputs are low here. The output should be high, but here it is 0. So here also the first condition fails. NOR gate is not suitable for the given truth table. Obviously, only one option is remain. So this should be the correct option. We can check the truth table according to XOR gate. XOR gate means if any one of the input is high, then output is high. Concentrate on the truth table. We can apply XOR gate conditions here. According to XOR gate, if any one of the input is high, then output is high. Come to the second and third condition in the truth table. If any one of the input is high, then output is high. This is right. And according to XOR gate, one more condition is, if both the inputs are same, then output is low or 0. If both the inputs are same, 0, 0, both are same, so the result is 0. Here, the last one, 1 and 1 both are same here. If both the inputs are same, then output is 0. So this truth table corresponds to XOR gate. Option D is right. A passenger travels along a straight road for half the distance with velocity v1 and the remaining half distance with velocity v2. Then average velocity is given by. Average velocity is equal to S divided by T. This is the velocity. Displacement divided by time. Here it is, displacement is given. For the first velocity v1, displacement is half of the distance. Let us take the distance as x. So we can write x by 2. For the next velocity v2, again it travels half distance. So average means again plus x by 2 whole divided by time is not given. So we can use v equal to s by t, or t equal to, we can write s divided by v. That means in place of time interval, we can write distance, that is x, divided by velocity is 2 times of v1 plus x divided by 2 times of v2. Now calculate this value, x by 2 plus x by 2. So we will get 1 divided by v2 plus v1 divided by 2v1 v2. X will get cancelled. So we will get 2v1 v2 divided by v1 plus v2. This is the average velocity of the passenger. So 2v1 v2 divided by v1 plus v2 means option D is right. A point initially at rest moves along x-axis. Its acceleration varies with the time as a equal to 6t plus 5 meter per second square. If it starts from origin, the distance covered in 2 seconds is. Here we can write 6t plus 5 means this is the acceleration vary with time. Acceleration that varies with time. So we can write directly dv divided by dt, that gives acceleration, rate of change of velocity. It is given 6t plus 5. Or we can write dv equal to 6t plus 5 into dt. Then v equal to, let us integrate this value, integration of 6t plus 5 into dt. Integrate this value, we will get v equal to 6 is constant, take outside. This will be t square divided by 2 plus 5t. 6t square by 2 plus 5t. So this is the value of velocity. Similarly, we know that rate of change of displacement, that gives velocity. In place of v, we can write ds divided by dt. Here, in place of ds, means we can write 3t square. So here 2 1s are 2, 3s are 6. We will get 3t square plus 5t. Or we can write ds equal to 3t square plus 5t into dt. Again integrate this equation, s equal to integration of 3t square plus 5t into dt. After integrating, we will get 3t cube divided by 3 plus 5t square divided by 2. Or s equal to, we can write t cube, 3 will get cancelled, plus 5 by 2 t square. Now the time interval is given, the distance covered in 2 seconds. Therefore, at t equal to 2 seconds, we will get the value s equal to, substitute 2 in place of t. So 2 cube plus 5 by 2 into t square, that is 2 square. So calculate this value, we will get s equal to 18 meter. This is the distance covered in 2 seconds. 18 meter means option B is correct. With O as the origin of the coordinate axis, the x and y coordinate of center of mass of system of particles shown in the figure may be given as, here m and 2m represent the masses of the particles. This is xy coordinate. Here totally there are 4 particles. Let us consider the first particle is having mass m, and from the origin of the coordinate system, the total distance is 2b, which is along negative x-axis, so we can write minus 2b. Then come to the second particle. Second particle, let us take it as b, having mass 2m, and it is having distance b from the origin of the coordinate system, which is along negative x-axis, so we can take it as minus b. Minus b, minus 2b, these are position vectors of given particles. Come to the third particle, it is having mass m and the distance is 0 because this particle is exactly on the positive y-axis. at the origin. So we can take here it is having 0 position vector. Then come to the fourth particle. Let us take it as D having mass 2m, and the position vector of this particle from the origin is B, that we can write plus B because it is along positive x-axis. Now we can use the equation of position vector of center of mass, which is denoted by xc. Position vector of center of mass is given by the equation m1x1 plus m2x2. This is for two particles, but there are four particles here, so we can write m3x3 plus m4x4 divided by m1 plus m2 plus m3 plus m4. Now substitute all the values here. Remember m1, m2, m3, m4, that indicates mass of each particles. x1, x2, x3 and x4 indicates position vector of given particles. Now first we can write mass of the first particle is m. Position vector of the particle A is minus 2b from the center. Similarly, for second particle it is 2m and its position is minus b from the center, plus third particle is having mass m and its position is 0 from the origin, and the last particle is having mass 2m and its position is plus b from the origin, divided by the mass of each particle, that is m plus 2m plus m plus 2m. Calculate these value. Here minus 2mb plus into minus will be again minus 2mb. M into 0 will be 0. Leave it. We will get 2mb divided by. So here the total mass is 2 plus 1, 3, 4. That is 6m. Now xc equal to minus 2mb plus 2mb will get cancelled. Here m will get cancelled. 2 1s are 2 3s are 6. So the final answer is minus b divided by 3. So this is the position vector of center of mass. xc equal to minus b divided by 3. So this is option C is right. 29 question. A nuclear reaction is given by. Here one nuclear reaction is given. Observe this equation. X element which is having mass number A and atomic mass is Z. When it undergoes a process like alpha process or beta decay or gamma, after process, so here it produces new element Y, but it is having same mass number A, but atomic number is increased by 1, and also it is releasing antineutrino. So this process or this reaction represents. You can observe here, there is no change in the mass number. Mass numbers are same after reaction. There is no change in the mass number. And the second point, atomic number is increased by 1. Here it is Z. After reaction it becomes Z plus 1. So when atomic number, when mass number is the same, when atomic number is increased by 1, then easily we can say that this is beta decay. What it is? Here it is beta decay process. You can say that there is no change in mass number, that is A. And the second point, atomic number means Z, it is increased by 1. So we can say that this is a beta decay process. And in beta decay process it releases antineutrino. So here the right option is B, beta decay process. Steam is passed into 22 gram of water at 20 degrees Celsius. The mass of water that will be present when water acquires a temperature of 90 degrees Celsius. Latent heat of steam is 540 calorie per gram is. Here steam is converted into water because steam is passed into water. If I am going to consider this is a steam and this steam, here it is passed into water. So that means heat lost is equal to heat gain. Heat is lost by steam and it is gained by the water. Water, its initial temperature is 20 degrees Celsius. after absorbing this steam, its temperature increases to 90 degrees Celsius. Right? Now we can say that heat is gained by water at 20 degrees Celsius to rise its temperature up to 90 degrees Celsius. We can use heat lost in equilibrium. Heat lost is equal to heat gain. Heat lost equal to heat gain. Heat is lost by steam and it is gained by water. So heat lost means we can write this is mass of the steam. Let us take it as m gram into latent heat of steam is given 540 calorie per gram plus mass of the steam is m into specific heat capacity of water is 1 into change in the temperature, that we can write T2 minus T1 is equal to heat is gained by the water having mass 22 gram, specific heat capacity of water is 1 into change in temperature, we can write T1 minus T0. Now we can write here this is m into 540, that gives 540 m plus m into 1 will be m into we can write m capacities. T2 minus T1 means here steam is having temperature 100 degrees Celsius. So it is absorbed by water. It acquires the temperature 90 degrees Celsius is equal to 22. Here the temperature of water, that is we can write 90 degrees Celsius. Its final temperature, initial temperature is 20 degree Celsius. So we can write 540 m plus 100 minus 90 is 10 m is equal to 22. 90 minus 20 will be 70 degrees Celsius. So we can write 540 m plus 10 m is equal to 22 into 70, that gives 1540. So we can write 540 m plus 10 m, that gives 550 m is equal to 1540. Therefore, we can get m equal to 1540 divided by 550. So this is mass of the steam, that is 2.8 gram. But here the net mass of the water present in the mixture. The mass of the water is 22 gram. This is for 1 gram. So we can write the net mass of water present in the mixture. The net mass of water present in the mixture, we can write it is having 22 gram of water when it is mixed with the steam. When it absorbs steam, having mass 2.8 gram plus 2.8. So the total mass is after mixture, it is 24.8 gram. This is the final answer. So 24.8 gram. That means option A is right. Electromotive force is a force which is able to maintain a constant. Electromotive force is generally, in short, we can write it as EMF. So this electromotive force comes from chemical reaction that takes place in the battery, right? So electromotive force, it is a force and this is able to maintain a constant potential difference. So this EMF maintains constant potential difference and this force is exerted or this is produced from chemical reaction that takes place in the battery. So electromotive force is a force which is able to maintain a constant potential difference. Because of this potential difference, electric field is created so that the force is exerted on the charges or the free electron in the metal, and these free electrons starts to move with certain drift velocity that produces electric current. But here this resistance opposes the flow of electrons, and the current means here it is a flow of charges. So the right option is potential difference, option A. A prism of refractive index root 2 has a refracting angle 60 degree At what angle a ray must be incident on it so that it suffers minimum deviation? So minimum deviation is denoted by D. Refractive index is given n equal to root 2. A refracting angle means angle of prism is given A equal to 60 degree. So we have the equation for minimum deviation, that is n equal to sine of A plus D divided by 2 whole divided by sine of A by 2. This formula we can use to find the angle of incidence. Substitute all the values. N is given root 2 is equal to sine of A plus D by 2. A is given 60 degree plus angle of minimum deviation we don't know, keep as it is, divided by 2 whole divided by sine of, that is 60 by 2 means 30 degree. Or we can write root 2 equal to 1 by 2. So we can take it on LHS side. Root 2 into 1 by 2 is equal to sine of 60 plus D divided by 2. Root 2 into 1 by 2, that gives 1 by root 2 is equal to sine of 60 plus D divided by 2. So 1 by root 2 means which is equal to sine 45. Sine 45 is 1 by root 2. Instead of 1 by root 2 we can write sine 45. Remaining is a sine of 60 plus D divided by 2. Here sine will get cancelled. So remaining is what? Simply we can write 45 degree. 45 equal to 60 plus D divided by 2. Or we can write 60 plus D equal to, so 45 into 2 will be 90 degree. Therefore D equal to, so 90 minus 60, that gives 30 degree. So angle of minimum deviation is 30 degree. Now we have to find angle of incidence. We know that I equal to A plus D divided by 2. This equation we can use. Substitute the value. I equal to A is 60 degree plus 30 degree is D value divided by 2. So I equal to 60 plus 30 will be 90 divided by 2. So I equal to angle of incidence we will get 45 degree. So at 45 degree the ray must be incident on it so that it suffers minimum deviation. So option A is right. Select the incorrect statement about Lorentz force. Incorrect statement we have to choose from the given 4 statements. The first statement is, in the presence of electric field and magnetic field, the force on a moving electric charge is given by F equal to Q into E of R plus it is V into B of R. When electric field and magnetic field are present, then the force is acting on a moving electric charge is given by this equation. This is right. Come to the second statement. The force due to magnetic field on a negative charge is opposite to that on a positive charge. It is also right because of their different polarity. Here the magnetic field on negative charge is opposite to positive charge. This is also right. Come to the third statement. The force due to magnetic field are become zero if velocity and magnetic field are parallel or anti-parallel. See here, the force due to magnetic field, that becomes zero. When it becomes zero, if velocity and magnetic field both are parallel or anti-parallel. This is also correct. Then obviously the fourth option may be incorrect statement. We can observe the last statement here, that is, for a static charge the magnetic force is maximum. Static charge means the charge is at rest. When the charge is at rest, it is just surrounded by electric field. If the charge starts to move in a uniform direction, then magnetic field will be produced. But here it is given the magnetic force is maximum. So magnetic force is equal to 0 when the charge is at rest, because at static charge it is simply surrounded by electric field. You can observe this equation, that is magnetic force Fm, we can write Q into V cross B. So this equation we can use vector V cross vector B. Here suppose V equal to 0. If velocity is 0 for static charge, then the value of magnetic force is equal to 0. So the last statement is incorrect statement about Lorentz force. Option D is right. In an AC generator, a coil with N turns, all of the same area A, and the total resistance R rotates with frequency omega and magnetic field is B. The maximum value of EMF generated in the coil is, we already studied about AC generator in alternating current. So there we studied the equation induced EMF according to Faraday's second law. We can write minus d pi by dt, or we can write E equal to minus d capacities d by dt capacities. Pi means magnetic flux. If there are n number of turns, we can write n into B dot A. Right, that is the product of magnetic field lines into cross-sectional area or surface area. So E equal to, we can write minus n d by dt of, here B dot A can be written as BA cos theta. Theta means we can write omega t. So E equal to, we can write NBA, and here you can differentiate this equation, we will get omega. So differentiation of cos gives minus sine omega t, minus into minus will be plus sine omega t. So this is E naught. E naught indicates maximum induced EMF, which is equal to NAB omega. So this is what the maximum induced EMF. So here in place of sine theta, sine 0 is 0, sine 90 is 1. When omega t is equal to 90 degree, that means when theta equal to 90 degree, then we can say that the maximum value of EMF is generated in the coil. So this is NAB omega, or directly if you know this equation, we can go for option D, that is NAB omega. A diametrical tunnel is dug across the earth. A ball is dropped into the tunnel from one side. The velocity of the ball when it reaches the center of the earth is, given gravitational potential at the center of the earth is equal to minus 3 by 2 gm divided by r. See here, when a ball is dropped into the tunnel from one side, so we can write loss in potential energy is equal to gain in kinetic energy. We can write loss in potential energy is equal to what? Gain in kinetic energy. Loss in potential energy, we can write, initially it is having potential energy that given by Gmm divided by R minus, here the loss in potential energy is given minus 3 by 2 Gm divided by R. This is loss in potential energy, which is equal to gain in kinetic energy, which is given by the equation half mv square. Now calculate this value, we will get minus into minus will be plus Gm into m divided by 2R is equal to half mv square. Or we can write V equal to root of Gm divided by R, or we can write V equal to root of, that gives small g into R. So this is the velocity of the ball when it reaches the center of the earth. V equal to root of g into R. Option B is right. A spring of force constant is given 800 Newton per meter, has an extension of 5 centimeter. The work done in extending it from 5 centimeter to 15 centimeter is. Here the spring force constant is given. We have the equation, the work done, that means we can take dW is equal to spring constant, that is K x into dx. X is the extension, K is the force constant with respect to dx. Here we want the total work done. Here it is given from the extending 5 centimeter to 15 centimeter. K is constant, take outside. Remaining is integration of x into dx from the limit 5 centimeter to 15 centimeter, or in terms of meter we can write 0.05 meter to 0.15 meter. Now substitute the values. W equal to, we can write the K value is given 800 Newton per meter. 800 Newton per meter, integration of x square divided by 2. This is integration of x is x square divided by 2 from the limit 0.05 to 0.15, or we can write 800 divided by 2 we can take outside, remaining is x square from the limit 0.05 to 0.15. 800 by 2 that gives 400. Now let us apply the limit, upper limit minus lower limit, 0.15 square minus 0.05 square. So the final answer we can get 400 into 0.2 into 0.1, that gives 8 joules. The work done in extending from 5 cm to 15 cm is 8 joule. Option B is right. If it takes 5 minutes to fill a 15-liter bucket from a water tap of diameter 2 divided by root pi centimeter, then the Reynolds number for the flow is close to. Density of water and viscosity of water is given. See here, Reynolds number is directly given by the equation Re equal to rho into velocity into radius divided by viscosity eta. This equation we can use here. Rho is given and viscosity is given. Diameter means easily we can take the radius. First we have to find the velocity. See here, diameter of the water tap is given 2 divided by root pi centimeter. Therefore, from this we can get the radius. Radius is equal to 1 by root pi. Convert into meter. So 10 raised to minus 2 meter. Now I am going to use the equation, that is dm divided by dt is equal to density into area into velocity. From this equation we can easily find the value of V. So here dm divided by dt. Here 15 liters of water, 15 liters of water divided by, given here 5 minute is converted into second, means we can write 5 into 60, 1 minute equal to 60 seconds, which is equal to density is given, density of water is 1000 or 10 raised to 3 into area. Here area means we can use pi r square. Pi capacities, r means 1 divided by root pi, pi r square into velocity, pi r square. In terms of meter, squaring means we can write 10 raised to minus 4 into V. So therefore, after calculating these values, we will get velocity 0.05 meter per second. Now substitute all the values in this formula. Reynolds number Re equal to rho is 10 raised to 3 into velocity we got 0.05 into radius is 2 by root pi. Sorry, this is 1 divided by root pi into 10 raised to minus 2 divided by, and eta value is given 10 raised to minus 3. So Reynolds number after calculating we will get nearly it is equal to 5500. So 5500 is the Reynolds number for the flow, which is option D. The effective capacitance between the points P and Q of the arrangement shown in the figure is. I am going to redraw the same arrangement. You can see here for the terminal P, this is the point P. From this point P, there are two capacitors, 2 microfarad and 2 microfarad. They are divided equally here. So this is terminal P, and here the two capacitors are equally divided. So we can take their values, 2 microfarad and this is 2 microfarad. They are equally divided. Then here at this point and at this point, again there are two values, two capacitors. Let us draw the remaining two capacitors here, 2 microfarad and 2 microfarad. Remaining is this capacitor which is having the value 5 microfarad. So here we can draw 5 microfarad capacitor here. This 5 microfarad capacitor is ineffective. And so this is equivalent capacitance will be equal to 1 microfarad. Means you can see here this forms a Wheatstone bridge. So the capacitor 5 microfarad. So this capacitor will be ineffective. 5 microfarad will be ineffective. Now come to the capacitors on the upper branch. Capacitors on the upper branch is in series. 2 microfarad and this 2 microfarad. This is in series. This is upper branch. Similarly, this is lower branch 2 microfarad and 2 microfarad. This is also in series combination. So we can write. So for series capacitors, we can write 1 CS is equal to 1 by C1 plus 1 by C2, 1 by 2 plus 1 by 2. So therefore, CS equal to capacitance in series combination, we got 1 microfarad. This is for upper branch. Similarly, for lower branch, we can get capacitors on the lower branch is also in series. So we can write similarly, they are having 2 microfarad values. So directly we can write CS equal to 1 microfarad. This is for lower branch. So now I can again redraw the same diagram here. So this is the terminal P. Here we got for series combination 1 microfarad for upper branch. For lower branch we got again 1 microfarad. Right? Now this is connected to remaining is what? In the original diagram you can observe remaining is only these two parallel combination. So when they are connected in parallel, you can see here. So let us take this is first value and this is second value. Now capacitors here 1 microfarad and 1 microfarad, these two are in parallel connection. So for parallel connection we can write directly CP equal to, that is C1 plus C2, we will get 1 plus 1, that gives 2 microfarad. This is parallel value. So we can write directly here 2 microfarad. This is terminal Q. Is it clear? Now here you can observe 2 microfarad and this is also what? Parallel combination. So here also we will get directly I can write 2 microfarad because they are in parallel combination, that gives the value 2 microfarad. Here also it is 2 microfarad and this is terminal Q. Now these two are in series combination. Therefore for series combination we can write 1 by CS equal to 1 by 2 plus 1 by 2, that gives 1 microfarad. Therefore CS means capacitors in series combination, finally we got 1 microfarad. So 1 microfarad means option B is right. See here, initially we redraw the given arrangement like a Wheatstone bridge. Here 5 microfarad is ineffective, upper branch is series, lower branch is also series having same value. So we got 1 microfarad. And now we redraw the same arrangement here. Again these two are parallel to each other. So again these two are parallel to each other. We can use the equation C1 plus C2. So again we got 2 microfarad. At last these two are like a series combination. So the final answer is 1 microfarad. A glass rod 20 centimeter long is clamped at the middle. It is set into longitudinal vibration. Longitudinal vibration. If the emitted sound frequency is 4000 Hz, the velocity of the sound in a glass will be. See here, this is a glass rod and this glass rod is set into longitudinal waves. So this is what? Longitudinal waves. This is the length of the rod. Let us take it as L and this is a glass rod. So we can use the equation. Here a glass rod is having value 20 centimeter, means L is given 0.2 meter, and which is set for longitudinal vibration means we can write lambda by 2. So therefore, I am going to write 0.2 equal to lambda by 2. So lambda means wavelength we got 0.4 meter. Easily now we can find its velocity. So velocity of the sound, is given by the equation, that is v equal to f lambda. Therefore, we can write their values. Here, frequency of the sound emitted is given 4000 Hz. Lambda we got 0.4. So the final answer is 1600 meter per second. This is the velocity of sound. So option C is right. A transistor has an alpha value which is equal to 0.95. Then beta is equal to, alpha is given, we have to find the value of beta. We know that alpha value, it is a parameter. Alpha, it is a symbol which is equal to input divided by output. Here the current across the collector is input divided by current across emitter is output. This is alpha equation. Similarly for beta, here we can write current across collector is input but current across base is output. We can use these two equations, and also we can use the current across emitter is always equal to sum of current across base plus current across collector. So therefore we can write IE divided by IC is equal to, this equation can be written as IE equal to IB plus IC dividing by IC here. I by IC equal to IB divided by IC, IC divided by IC. Here it will get cancelled. We will get 1. IE divided by IC means which is equal to reciprocal of alpha, because alpha is IC divided by IE. E is equal to IB by IC is reciprocal of beta. 1 by alpha equal to 1 by beta plus 1. Now substitute the value. 1 divided by alpha is given 0.95 is equal to 1 by beta plus 1. Or we can write 1 by beta equal to 1 divided by 0.95 minus 1. Therefore 1 by beta equal to, we will get 5 divided by 95. Therefore beta equal to 95 divided by 5. Therefore the value of beta is equal to 19. Option B is right. A coil of a circular cross section having 1000 turns and 4 cm square face area is placed with its axis parallel to a magnetic field which is decreased by 10 raised to minus 2 Weber per meter square in 0.01 second. The EMF induced in the coil is, here the number of turns is given, we can write N equal to 1000. Face area, A value is given 4 cm square which is equal to 4 into 10 raised to minus 4 meter square. Then change in the magnetic field is given, let us take it as delta B, which is equal to 10 raised to minus 2 Weber per meter square. And time is given 0.01 second. And then EMF induced in the coil that we have to calculate. We have the equation E equal to minus d pi divided by dt, or we can write for n number of turns, we can write n into delta B divided by delta t into A cos theta, B dot A equal to BA cos theta. Now substitute all the values, number of turns is 1000 into change in magnetic field is 10 raised to minus 2 Weber per meter square. Area is 4 into 10 raised to minus 4 meter square divided by delta t, that is time is given 0.01 second. Here cos theta, when theta is equal to 0 degree, cos 0 will be 1. So directly we can write, after calculating, E equal to 400 millivolt. We got the final answer 400 millivolt. Option A is right. A particle is moving eastward with a velocity of 5 meter per second. In 10 seconds, the velocity changes to 5 meter per second in northwards. The average acceleration in this time is, see here, if I am going to consider initial, it is traveling along eastward direction with velocity 5 meter per second. Let us take it as I cap. Then it changes its direction. Now it starts to move along northward, having again velocity 5 meter per second. This is north direction. Let us take it as J cap. Right? Now, here let us take the value of V1 and V2. V1 equal to phi I cap along eastward. V2 equal to phi J cap. This is along northward. So, therefore, average acceleration we can write, that is change in velocity with respect to time, V2 minus V1 divided by time. Substitute the value. A average is equal to V2 minus V1 means phi J cap minus phi I cap divided by time is given 10 seconds. So we can write A average is equal to, that is separately we can divide by 10. We will get minus 1 by 2 J cap plus 1, that is minus 1 by 2. This is about I cap plus 1 by 2 J cap. This is average acceleration. When we calculated its magnitude value, average acceleration, so directly I can write the answer, which is equal to, we will get 1 by 2, this is into root 2, or we can write 1 by root 2. Now see here, we got average acceleration is equal to 1 divided by root 2. Now, in which direction? Finally, we can observe this equation. Minus 1 by 2 means along negative x-axis. That is I cap, my negative x-axis means it is along westward, west direction. And then plus 1 by 2 J cap means here plus 1 by 2 J cap. This is I cap plus J means we can take northward. Then this is the resultant. Right? So we can write the final answer is 1 by root 2 meter per second square. But in which direction? So this is northwest direction. 1 by root 2 northwest direction. So that is option C is correct. In bringing an electron towards another electron, the electrostatic potential energy of the system. Options are given here: increases, decreases, becomes 0, or remains unchanged. We have the equation electrostatic potential energy is given by the equation U equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q1 Q2 divided by R. Here there are two electrons. So we can write electron, it is having negative charge, minus E into minus E divided by R. So what we can get here? 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught minus E into minus E will be E square divided by R. So that indicates when the electrostatic potential energy of the two electrons placed at the separation R from each other, that increases when one electron is brought towards the other and the separation R decreases. Here it is increasing but their separation R is decreasing. So potential energy increases means option A is right. 4 bulbs B1, B2, B3 and B4. There are totally 4 bulbs of 100 watt each are connected to 220 volt mains as shown in the figure, which is connected to ammeter. The reading in an ideal ammeter will be, see here, we can find the current in each bulb. First we can find current in each bulb is equal to power divided by potential difference, or we can write voltage. Right? So power is given, that is 100 watt, and voltage is given 220 volt. So we will get nearly 0.45 ampere. Now this is for each bulb, but for the complete 4 bulb we can write therefore current or the net current or the total current through the ammeter. Current through the ammeter, we can write 0.45 current in each bulb into, already we got for one bulb, so remaining are 3 bulb, so we can write 0.45 into 3, not into 4. Already we got for one bulb value. For 3 bulb means multiplied by 3. So we will get the total current through the ammeter, that shows 1.35 ammeter. So 1.35 ammeter means option C is right. In a solenoid, if number of turns is doubled, then self-inductance will become. What happens if the number of turns are doubled? See here, self-inductance of a solenoid. We studied in EMI chapter self-induction of a solenoid, that is L, is directly proportional to N square. What is N square? That is number of turns. We can write number of turns, that is capital N square. Now the question is, if N is doubled, then self-inductance will become, what happens? If N is doubled, then self-inductance will be, it will be 4 times. That means quadruple. If N is doubled, then L is quadruple. So option D is right.